I'm your host, David Cameo, and we are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing programs beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, most times we go deep. Today, I'm introducing a collaboration between Squawking Dead, Sci-Fi Vision, and Screens in Focus. I speak to Diana basically all the time. Jamie Ruby is a hard-working individual streaming all the time. And they're both really, really great creators who both happen to be covering this series. And I thought, why not get them on for the season finale, considering the fact that we had tried to record the season finale via our screeners and the timing just was not great. Every setback is an opportunity. And it allowed us to kind of go with our backup plan of, first of all, having people in the studio, which is why Jason is there as well. One of our Whisperers members, the little perk that he receives as a result of becoming a Whisperers member. And you too can join us in the studio when you join either the Whisperers or Survivors memberships. In any case, I hope you enjoy what we have in store for you. I will not waste any time. The episode is a very decent length. Head on over to sci-fivision.com to follow Jamie Ruby, screensinfocus.com so that you can follow Diana's podcast. They each churn out wildly different kinds of content, and I adore them wholeheartedly for coming on with us to rap on Dark Winds, but also for all the work that they do in their individual endeavors. Without any further ado, here is our season 4 finale of Dark Winds. Thank you for waiting, and if you enjoy it, let us know, and if you happen to rate us, we'll post it onto social media, as well as mention it in the next podcast. Does the title, The Glittering World, relate to what we saw in the Dark Winds season 4 finale? Hodisxo.
You're good.
Hey, you should have seen the other ones, because have you seen the titles?
Yes.
I'm right. Super long.
I have no idea.
I didn't do half of them right because I was using a different pronunciation guide. And now I found one that actually shows you examples. It's from the UNM, University of New Mexico website. How does the glittering world relate to what we saw in the finale?
Well, it's funny that you say that because I did try to read a little bit about this, and I know it said that it was the fourth world and that it's, I don't want to say before creation, but before this world.
Correct.
Okay. And it did talk about beauty, and it's a transitioning space is how I see that. But how did we see that? I think a lot of people are transitioning in this episode. We see Joe make a decision that is different than what he would have made a decision previously. We see it with Chi and finally going through the ceremony and accepting so much of who he is and feeling like he belongs. So we see it through different people in this.
A transition and a chance to do right what once went wrong, I guess.
Yes.
Because Joe not killing Irene instead of what he did do to not DB Cooper, but BJ Vines.
Yeah.
And then she doing over for his mom, kind of doing what he needed to do with her after she passed. That's cool. I dig it. So funny. Diana went for not the obvious thing first, which I love. Very ambitious. Points to you.
He didn't do what he would have done like we did with BJ Vines, but he did threaten to do it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Listen, that's just words. So, you gotta put your money where your mouth is. Just saying.
Yeah, I did not know what she had said that it meant about transitioning. I would have just said, going specifically by what it said in English, that maybe it meant like Irene's version of what she sees as sort of a glittering, perfect world with Leopold that obviously does not exist because she sees something he doesn't and is very much in denial.
I love that. I would never have thought of that, actually.
So actually, to kind of go in with the transition theme, the glittering world is at the end of the episode when they're all together in community and the ladies are cooking the meals and the men are doing the ceremony and everything. That is the glittering world.
Visually,
as opposed to the world where you don't have the family and the support group where Chi was before.
The people.
I like that.
Actually literally means the people. So I'm going to go into what the glittering world is. Diana hit the nail on the head. It is the stage or world, the fourth part of the creation myth before transitioning into what we know as our world. It represents the world of light, the glittering world, humanity and order. So people, like Sharondy said. Following a great flood in the lower worlds, the holy people and ancestors emerged at the glittering world, which is structured with 4 sacred mountains and organized with the creation of the sun, moon, and seasons. Key aspects of the glittering world myth: people escape rising floodwaters from the yellow world, led by key figures like first man and first woman. Upon entering this world, the beings took on the form of recognizable humans, the Dene. That's the transformation, right? Transitioning, transformation. The holy people created 4 sacred mountains to define their homeland, including Blanca Peak, Mount Taylor, San Francisco Peaks, and Hesperus Peak. This is the sacred landscape. The sun, moon, and stars were created to bring order to the new world, which is the establishment of order. And while the glittering world is a place of light, it's also where the Dene first encountered mortality, sickness, aging, hunger, bringing the need for balance, Hodisxo, which was mentioned on the show. This is the origin of life's complexities, entropy, if you will. The story is central to Navajo philosophy, teaching that the present world is a delicate balance of light, beauty, and life's inherent difficulties. How about that, children? Okay, that's excellent. In a sense, this episode is also separated by, you could say, 4 or 5 different worlds. You have the underworld, which is where Joe is kind of kept, the darkness, let's say. Next, it goes directly into Dominic McNair, the prison, which is kind of like a blue world. I think we jump to the glittering world, which is Chi's ceremony, directly after that. Then we sort of have a Emma/Chi moment.
The last scene was Joe taking him out his uniform, and then he got a phone call.
So it's him there, and then the police station, Byrne comes in, blah, 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 then Gordo, right? Mm. Yeah, Emma. Okay, no. So after that is Chi and Joe in the sweat, which is kind of the yellow world. It has a very distinct yellow hue to it. We go back to Emma, then we have the Gordo moment, and then we find out Gordo, sadly, off screen, which I'm hoping A. Martinez comes back in season 5 so that we can have a little backtrack, because you've that, and sadly, much to Sharondy's chagrin, we did not see Linda Hamilton again.
What? Yeah. What's going on with that? Yeah.
She was so upset, and I could tell she's even more upset.
I'm making my call for next season. Really, she's the one that's behind his murder.
I know. I was hoping it was something like that, right? Yeah. Get her back, get her involved.
See that?
She's really the Terminator. She's just hiding out.
She's replaced.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor, basically.
I really was disappointed that we only got like 5 minutes. Why do you bring someone of that caliber onto the show to have them for 5 minutes and not even be anything? It's nothing.
The fact that you're talking about it is why. The fact that it's annoying you right now.
Probably cost them a lot to get her on the show. So maybe.
Maybe.
That's why they had to kill off Gordo, because they had to get that A. Martinez money and give it to Linda Hamilton.
Oh my God. They're like, we got to save up.
I assume that she might, for that reason, come back, because you're right. Usually you don't bring somebody on like that for that short amount of time.
I wonder if that was intentional. Let's sneak her in for this episode, knowing full well that we will be bringing her back, especially now that Gordo Senna is gone. Her name is not B, it was Barbara. Thank you. Yeah, and I think she's going to feature prominently. How do you think Gordo Senna was murdered?
One of two things. He was looking into those old cases. Could be just a random thing from that.
What I thought too.
Or it could be with, I should know the name, Bosch.
McNair.
He could have done it.
Right? Yeah.
McNair, thanks.
I'm more thinking of from Lost, so there you go.
Yeah. The Dark Man?
Yeah, exactly. Lost, yeah.
I kind of want to touch on Joe going and telling McNair, like, yeah, you know my name and where I am. You and I talked about this in a different episode. He's putting Emma in danger. McNair can easily find out who he's married to and where she is in LA, because he just went in and told him his name. Like, you know where to come find me. Well, this guy doesn't work like that. I took issue with him doing that. That whole scene really bugged me. The whole cinematic where he has his head down and he lifts his head up so dramatically. And it's like, that was just so weird. It was so weird.
It's what we asked for. It was peak 70s motif. It's revealed. It's like, get the sheriff with his thing. He's not even a sheriff. He's a lieutenant, but still.
Joe's supposed to be a fairly intelligent professional guy, and that just felt like such a weird thing for him to do.
It's funny. I felt the same way initially. I thought, why are you doing this? Why are you poking the bear? Why are you antagonizing him? Because you know what he can do. You have Emma. I mean, he made a point to say the Navajo Tribal Police, you know my name, basically come to my door. But then also, why is he doing that? There are 4 people from his community that have been killed.
Because of him, too.
Yeah, because of him. So I'm thinking that that's really what was the driving force behind that. But yeah, I was concerned. I'm like, don't tell him all that. Don't remind him where you are, who you are, what your name is, where you're from. But
I feel like Joe's counting on him to come at him directly.
Yeah.
But Joe, that's not how these guys work. They're not going to come at you directly. They're going to go after your family and the people that you care about to get at you.
When you least expect, basically. Any counterpoints? Because I thought it was damn sexy.
I think it was a cool scene, and I think they wanted that, but it was kind of, at the expense of the way he acted, I guess.
The expense of reason.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because I thought the same thing. But it was a cool scene. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I was like, why are you? That's kind of dumb.
I mean, especially after Emma had just been found and attacked by Irene, because I'm sure if Irene could find her, then so could McNair easily.
Yeah.
Well, he does make it a point to say that you sent your best man. Clearly, Irene was his nuclear option when all else fails. So anybody that he has left to be able to send, because Irene is in prison for life, as he mentioned. Can he hire somebody from within prison? I guess it's possible.
But Dave, she's working at an unprotected Indian health clinic. It's not like she'd be hard to get to. Right there in the city that he's running his racket in. So it's not like they would have to send some super ninja person in there to get her.
Counterpoint. It looks like he is directly telling whoever comes by to come after him on the res. He's kind of saying, no, come over here. Come this way. Come to the res. Only the res. She's not coming back to the res. Well, and also there's the additional piece of this, which is Irene had taken special care to protect Joe and Billy, I guess to a certain extent, from McNair. She establishes this at the beginning of the episode. It was the only way to save you is to kind of keep you in this bunker from McNair.
She's also insane too, though. So.
Yes, but she's clever like a fox. She's insane like a coyote. For all her flaws, she was sincere in her efforts to make her new family. So I can see her going the extra mile of keeping Joe safe from McNair. Look, it's fine. I even said in the last episode that McNair would be one of the major adversaries in season 5.
Yeah.
Because of last episode when he visited him in the prison and it did nothing to push the story forward. Kind of to keep Joe's thorn in McNair's brain, basically. Like, oh, it's an itch I can't scratch. And his name is Joseph Leaphorn of Kayenta Police Station. Well, what do you guys think about that? Will we see McNair again, or will he even be mentioned?
Absolutely. I think that either he is a part of what happened to Gordo, or he is going to do something, maybe to Emma or somebody else, that's going to tie them all back together again. I definitely think he's going to be back next season.
Okay, I see nods. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, same here.
It could be a case related to him that Gordo was looking into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Will it link Billy as related to McNair somehow?
I mean, that was a theory we threw out there, but it didn't pan out.
I gotta bring that up. Hey, listen, you never know. Just like that theory, we're going to move to this, and then we'll probably bounce back to Gordo at some point too, because I'm with you guys on it being more likely that it's a cold case that he's been looking into. Sometimes I stay up at night and look up cold cases.
Yeah.
I had a theory. I don't know if you guys caught it about Toby Shaw. There was significant amount of evidence that he may have been in on everything that's been going on. One of the big things was in episode 4, I think it was, or maybe even 5, at the beginning when the FBI agents Wells and Shaw were kicking Joe's ribs in the back of the surveillance van. One of the things that Shaw came in on and just got real close to Joe and said, did Benno put you up to this? Benno, as we know, is the patsy, the McNair patsy, as mentioned in this episode by Joe, that replaced Leroy Gorman on the res. Do you guys link that together somehow?
Connect the dots for me, please.
The beginning of episode 5.
Yeah.
In the episode prior, Joe's fighting a bunch of shadowy figures in this warehouse after surveilling Sonny Bearhart's club. The next episode starts with those figures, Shaw and Wells, obviously. That's how we were introduced to them. They're kicking him in the ribs. He's asking him, what are you doing here? Why are you looking at one of McNair's bars? Like, I don't know who the McNair is. And then Shaw gets real close. Goes, did Benno put you up to this? Where this is like one of those Chekhov's guns. That's not nothing. But then we don't know who this guy is. We don't know who Benno is.
At the time, yeah.
And he goes, I don't know no Benno. Jolie Porn in a sexy voice. And then we find out who Benno is. Oh, Irene goes, get the rope, Benno, get the rope. In her own weird voice. He is the sub for Leroy Gorman, who Irene killed.
Okay.
So there's that. For the most part, that was the biggest flare I think we had as far as Shaw's possible involvement. Now, he could still be involved, but then they have this sweet moment at the damn chi ceremony.
Right, yeah.
And it was like, I'm glad you asked me. I'm like, oh, I don't trust you for anything. So if McNair is part of the next season, could this come back around? It could be one of those things like, you trusted me and that was your first mistake. And now I'm going to kill you and Emma because McNair wants me to. He's my next best thing to Irene. I don't know. So first of all, did you guys, well, obviously I'm not, Jamie or Diana, did you catch that little thing at the beginning of that episode where we first kind of meet Toby Shaw and Mr. Wells?
No.
I did not hear them say Benno, or if I did, it didn't register for me and to continue with that. But I'm thinking if they did say that, Joe would have, I thought, kept that name in his pocket.
Maybe
if he heard it later. Maybe he didn't. Yeah.
I wonder if they'll reuse that again. But yeah, Jamie, it's probably so long ago.
Everything has a purpose.
But yeah, I didn't notice it either. But yeah, it makes sense what you're saying. So, but yeah, if it comes up again.
Yeah. We've had a while to digest this since the episode came out, since I watched the episode first, and I watched it just a couple of weeks ago, and we almost recorded it Friday, took notes, watched it again today. The only thing I could say is that Benno is one of the FBI CIs, the confidential informants. Now, this is obvious because Upchurch, Upchurch didn't send Benno. He sent Leroy Gorman. He became a witness. And so it's possible that Benno is just a CI but see, if he is a CI, confidential informant for the FBI, then what is he doing with McNair? Why is he a patsy for McNair? See, this is where it goes both ways. If he's a CI, then he's involved with the FBI. He's one of McNair's people. Then that means there's got to be somebody on the FBI that's on the take. There's just no way around it. To me, in my mind, it's either Wells, which is, okay, you barely talk, dude. It has to be Toby Shaw, Tobias. I don't know. Needless to say, I'm very disappointed that my theory didn't pan out. I was so gung-ho about it. And especially when they dropped more evidence in the last episode that it was that.
My favorite part was just seeing Chi's transformation towards the end, and finally giving in to wanting to do that ceremony. Got a little tear in my eyes seeing everybody show up for him at the very end. Just that whole thing was my favorite part of this episode.
Did any of you feel the same way? And specifically that moment when it didn't look like anybody was going to come? See you shaking your head. You're nodding.
I didn't know what they were waiting for at first. I kind of forgot that people showed up to participate. So I was like, why does Byrne keep asking Chi to wait? Or
just wait a minute. Yeah.
I, for a minute, did think maybe she was the only one that cared because a lot of the season was about their relationship and mending that. But yeah, I agree. It was really sad. And I'm like, nobody came, not even Leopold.
Right. Lee Porn, right? It's like, what? Not even Joe?
Game, right? Yeah.
Well, especially because he gave him so much crap earlier during his troubles.
If they hadn't come, I would have been really surprised. I really thought they would be late, but I was anticipating that they were going to come. And of course, I was thrilled that they did. And to see each set of people come was just...
Oh, yeah.
Everybody meant something that was coming, driving up. I just thought it was really special. And I know how emotional it was for Chi at the time. I know how emotional it was for the actor. Kiowa talked about it and how he was moved by it. I do want to bring up, because that moment was a really good moment, that last episode, the penultimate episode, in the hospital, when he got choked up and when he was doing it, I was so emotional. And I felt like I really understood what he was feeling. He felt such guilt for not doing what his mother had wanted, and he didn't do it because of his own sense of culture or belonging and not feeling that. In my mind, I have it as you're growing up, you are acclimating to wherever your mom has taken you, to Los Angeles or wherever that might be. Maybe people don't look like you. Maybe people don't act like you, and you try to assimilate to those people. And I think he was pushing down his culture, even though he is who he is. And so I think through that, I feel like he was sort of lost in who he was. And so I think that was why he didn't want to bring his mother back home to the res like she had asked, because he thought, well, we don't really belong there anymore. They're not going to accept us. I don't know if I can face this. And so when he was going through that and telling Byrne how he felt, I was just in it with him. I just thought it was such an emotional scene. So to see it here in the finale, it was beautiful to see it. And I was just really moved by all of that and his whole character, just how they wrote it and the performances.
Yeah. I really liked how they did it, because on the one hand, she's like, let's just do it. I'm making my peace with nobody coming, which is, I think, the ideal self. We all kind of at some point get this hang up. It's a hang up from when we were a kid, this Arrested Development moment. You have to kind of remember back in, I think it was season 1 or 2. It could have been season 1, where she kind of says why he left Navajo Nation. He says his mom was bullied / driven off the res because of things that happened. He was rejected. He was kicked off. He was made fun of, etc. He was bullied. And so that association with being a Navajo was something that he was like, well, why should I hold on to an identity of a people who basically rejected me? Mm-hmm. And so he tries to make his own way in LA. And it's kind of, like you said, complicated, because does he fit in? Does he not? He clearly made his way through the FBI, which is totally accepting him. He mentioned that when his mom died, he was in grad school, if I'm not mistaken.
He was going to Berkeley. Yeah.
Right. Basically fitting in. He was making his way. And this happens. And it's like, well, do I go back to the thing that rejected me or keep going with the thing that accepted me? But it still kind of nagged at him. And obviously he had this ton of poison / infection drama with his rib cage and whatnot, and all linking to this sort of trauma from way back. And when you get to the Pogon with Margaret Cigarette, the grandmother medicine woman, and he is making peace with it, and he's saying, it's okay. It's okay. Let's put this behind me. Let's move on. Let's transition into this new wave where I can maybe build more friends and maybe build this whole thing. But we knew, we suspected, and cinematically how that scene played out was really cool. You see like the dust, it's like barren. There's dust clouds moving horizontally. Yeah. Nobody's coming. Why would anybody come? In your brain, you're like, what? It's okay. Just go inside. Bird's like, no. You stay one more minute. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening to Byrne. It's fine. Okay. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't argue with her. Would you? I wouldn't. No. So then listen, I'm with you, Diana. I knew they were coming, but I had an additional stank on it. Okay. If I didn't see Shorty Bowlegs, Sheldon Shorty Bowlegs, I would have
that was really
pitched
cool,
a fit. But not only did we get Sheldon Shorty Bowlegs, his name is actually Sheldon. I had to see it in one of the papers. Okay. I'm like, I'm not forgetting that for anything. So I saw Shorty, and he does the high thing, like, yeah. And then he smiles. Yeah. He actually smiles. Didn't know he could smile. That's cool.
I know.
But we saw George and Cecil Bowlegs, the two kids, his two sons, which I thought was super cool. I do have a list of all the people that came. I wrote in my notes, rascally FBI agent Toby Shaw and Shorty Bowlegs, George and Cecil, Henry and Joyce Lee Porn come, which is cool. Billy Sosi and Carol move back to the res and come with a big watermelon. MVPs, I say. By the way, seeing them, he's a little bit overcome with emotion, which is peak. Oh, I wrote
everyone from the station, from the...
Oh, yeah. The first people that come are obviously Natalie from the station, the other two officers. I noted, going back to rascally Toby Shaw, that Toby Shaw was wearing sort of Irene Vaughan's colors. He had like a little brown pants and an orange polo. He did have little blue horizontal stripes. Okay. All right, let's put that down. Take a note of that. Fine. Little teal horizontal stripes. Fine. Okay. We got Mrs. Swenson, whom we've seen, I think, almost, at least we saw her last season when they were looking for George. We saw her this season. She always kind of like that hot for teacher vibe, like, I don't like you, Jim Chi, but also like wink as he's driving by last season. But she came by, and that actually got me a little emotional because she pulls up with this drawing and it's like, I don't keep many of these over the years, but only the students I thought might actually make something of themselves. Little Jimchi at the bottom with a little drawing of great men of science.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You don't think that's possible, especially being bullied and exiled off the res with your mom. You think that teacher, the meanest teacher to you, saved that drawing? Come on. On a serious note, I did identify with that a lot. I moved around a lot as a kid, so I had it in my head that I was completely forgettable, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, gee, it's okay. Go inside. Go. They're not going to remember you. It's like my childhood. It's totally fine. You've got Bern. She'll tell you what to do and you will never say no again. And it's totally fine. I wouldn't. Some people that were in the credits that I didn't quite catch were there too. Obviously, Emma, whatever. We saw her. Whatever, Emma.
Whatever.
Okay. Kidding. I write in my notes though, just so you know, I'm saying whatever, but like Emma arrives and she's obviously gorgeous. A solitary vision. Okay. Helen and Guy Atsity also came too. And Roger from the Trading Post.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't spot them, but apparently they were there. So that's pretty cool.
Can I just point out this beautiful chain reaction that Emma has started? Joe went to the Indian school and then to the military where he was definitely separated from his culture and his past, but Emma brought him back into it. And then you have Bernadette, who also went to one of the schools where they tried to separate her from her culture. But because Joe took her in and she was with Joe and Emma, she was brought back to it. Now, Chi, who was separated from his culture by moving and everything, because of Bernadette, has been brought back into it with Emma and Joe. So Emma started this chain of bringing these people back to their roots and their culture. So I think it's especially beautiful that she was there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Saying that she was honored to be there. Okay. You kind of can tell that Margaret Cigarette was kind of like, are we doing this thing already or what? If nobody's there yet.
Mm-hmm. Come on, children.
Yeah, exactly.
Something children, yeah.
So adorable.
She reminds me so much of my grandma.
Yeah, really?
With my grandma's cataracts, sunglasses. Every time I see the grandmother, Margaret Cigarette, just makes me smile.
Oh, okay. You had a good relationship with her?
Yeah.
You don't have to lie.
I did, yeah.
It's fine. It's a safe space. It's a little ornery. No,
I had a good relationship with her.
All right, I'm starting trouble with.
I appreciated how you talked earlier too about kind of the transformation of Chi and the fact that after he like apologized to Joe and sort of sees that at least he seems to understand why he chose Bernadette and is maybe not as salty about that now, hopefully. I like that before they went in the sweat tent.
And the scenery too, the cinematic.
Oh, gorgeous.
Of the light coming in. It's beautiful. Yellow world.
It's a lot easier to accept him choosing Bern now that it's not going to happen.
I know.
Well, did he know it at that point? I don't know. I guess he suspected it maybe. I think they both suspected he probably was still coming back.
How do you think Bern feels about it? Because I don't know. When she was walking up and she saw his vehicle there.
Why are you here? This is my time now.
Yeah.
It's like the Goonies. It's our time down here.
Wouldn't it be natural for Joe to be promoted up into Gordo's?
Yeah, maybe.
If in fact he is like the chief of all the stations.
Gordo was retired though, so somebody else already took his place.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's a retired sheriff. So who knows?
She was contemplating that card from Toby pretty hard throughout the episode. So maybe he and Bernadette will go to LA or something. Who knows?
Well, we did bring up something that I wanted you guys to know. We had kind of like a windy journey in the last episode talking about what Chi's possibilities were, but we also picked up an Easter egg from when they were looking over Leroy Gorman's EIA file, his employment worksheet. The sheet from Navajo Nation featured two names. One of the names was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it led me down a rabbit hole of finding out who one of the writers was. And it turns out that writer was developing a series called Jim Chi Private Eye, 6-episode series in development, basically. And if that is the case, that could be Chi's alternative. It's kind of like what Bern was saying in the last season, or it could have been the season beforehand, like there's no upward mobility. I want to keep progressing, et cetera, et cetera. And now Chi is sort of in her place.
Chi has already been a private eye because he was a PI in season 2. Because remember, that's how we got involved with the Vines, was he went to find the box that was taken or whatever.
Sir. ma'am. Well, he could always go back to that, right?
I mean, it could be like a whole show about that period in between those times.
Yeah, because he didn't quite feature in that season, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Not a whole lot. I could see it going either way. It could be more like like you're saying, just happened during that season, or maybe he'll be in season 5, then leave. It could go either way. Depends on when they do it, I guess, right?
Maybe he exposes Toby Shaw. Because, I mean, it's like,
Right.
what are the two alternative options? Oh, he goes back to the FBI, which is where he was when he started. Or he does Jim Shee Private Eye again, back to that. Thank you for bringing that up, Sharon D.
The next season should be like a year later in 72. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to go hook up with Sylvia Washington and investigate Watergate.
Right. We mentioned her possibility.
Maybe there's some connection there. I wouldn't mind Sylvia Washington coming back either.
Nixon Agnew, right?
Yeah.
The Nixon Agnew t-shirts that we saw in the streets of LA too, by the way. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Was it though? Was it?
He was kind of jarring. It was like, I didn't expect to see that. Okay. It's anyone's guess. Well, and if we're to be solving Gordo's murder necessarily, how far will that time jump be? I think we're going to pick up directly from where we left off, but I'm very curious to know if this is one of those immediate arrest situations where it's months down the line and maybe we got nowhere. What do you guys think?
I think I read that it was going to pick up right where it left off. So I think we're going to be immediate.
Okay.
In rare form, too. Considering all the prior seasons, there's always been somewhat of a time jump.
In this case, I think it would make sense for them to pick up right where they left off because obviously he's going to be investigating. Well, though, will he? Because that's not necessarily tribal jurisdiction.
You're right, actually.
My guess would be that he's going to go off on his own and investigate and leave the reservation to Chi and Bernadette while he goes to do his own private thing.
It's a great point to keep in mind. Unless he just does it anyway. I mean, they went to LA to find Billy.
Yeah, they did.
He just happened to uncover all the corruption stuff because while they were looking for Billy, but he wasn't there in an official capacity to investigate anything other than finding a kid. Whereas going after someone who murdered someone, that's a totally different thing. Wait, now, I mean, Chi could rejoin the FBI and ask to be put on that case or something like that.
Could be. Or he could even just as easily ask Shaw to see what he can do.
Right, so...
But yeah, we don't know. I like when the possibilities are a little bit more open than they are obvious. That goes for everybody, even Byrne. Seeing Joe's truck, his classic, was a Chevy, I think it is, parked in the Kayenta police station. But then hearing the news, it's like, well, I can't quit now. Gordo's dead.
Be mad now. It's not his
exactly.
fault.
Well, she could be. It's Byrne. It's fine.
Well, yeah.
We all accept it. She's like a hurricane. Or a black beauty, if you want to go positive. I feel like we're going a very long way to not talk about the bunker. And that's
time?
more than half the episode. Or like just about half the episode.
It is, yeah.
And I have to say there are quite a few things, clever things, by the way. And I only noticed it, I think, obviously, with the matches that they found in Upchurch's place and did Benno put you up to this? Every little thing they do on this show leads to something else.
Yeah.
Joe figures out where he can throw the sage in his ceremony near the end of the bunker sequence because she's spilling gasoline everywhere as she's pouring it to the generator. So there's this sort of like this weird reservoir of gasoline in the soil that he can throw this thing onto and cause a ruckus. So there's things like that. The charcoal filter, we see it a couple of times. The first pour of the water, you kind of see it, but then they distinctly show it in like a cut from commercial sort of situation where it's like up close. And then if you want to talk about glittering world, the charcoal was sort of glittering in the glass, I thought.
Okay.
I have to talk about Irene and how crazy she is because
Sure.
I have been anticipating her walking in with her bra on and her top off. I'm like, what are you doing? Don't do anything to Joe, please. I'm scared.
Reaction to that was so funny because he just keeps staring like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what to say. And he barely moved, which was really funny.
Yeah.
Let me just relay to you what's in my notes on that. Cuts tonight. Irene is in her dumb bra walking into Joe's room. I mean, that's how it starts. Obviously, there's more, but dumb bra. It's like, it was dumb. It was dumb. And you could tell that Franca Potente was like, I'm enjoying this. I am enjoying making Zahn McLaren very uncomfortable in this moment. She's like, yeah. She's sticking her tummy out. She's like, check this out. And almost like I can just tell she's trying to get Zahn to break character in a way, so, which is why he's got this 1,000-yard stare, basically. It's like, I gotta stay. This is expensive digital footage that we're wasting if I break character right now. Did anybody get those vibes though? Or is it just me? Because I was like, she's enjoying this way too much, which I appreciate, actually.
She was. And I kept wondering, okay, when she first came out, I really did think, what is she going to do? What's her next move going to be? But then she talks to him about the books and all of that, which I thought was so interesting because that led us to understand why she was so obsessed with him, because I still didn't know. We still didn't know.
That's what I was going to ask next.
Yeah, I had no idea. So the fact that it filled all of that in about those stories, Carl May is the author, Winnetou.
Nailed it again.
The story about a German and a warrior. To me, it was like she was just trying to, the pages just jumped out when she saw Joe. She thought, oh, this is my warrior. Just grabbing onto that childhood that she had and just wanting to live it and be it. Joe was all the things that she had read and admired and wanted in her life to be normal after being trained by her father and her grandfather. And who knows what life was like when she was that young. So I think that the books were saving her. And so here she was able to hold on to that and live through that. It was really good to see that and fill in all the pieces. But I do also want to say the bunker aspect was not my favorite aspect. I was like, okay, hurry up and get out of the bunker, please.
Oh, okay.
I felt like it was kind of silly, over the top for me. And it was one of those things that just kind of felt like, wow, this is kind of silly and ridiculous. But I feel bad for Irene. When we tried recording before, I had said that I have a problem with empathy. I feel for this woman. She just wants a normal life, but she doesn't know what that is.
Yeah.
And the horrors of the way she was raised has made her into something that she can never attain what she wants because she doesn't know how. She's been abused for so long, not physically possibly, but mentally abused for so long that there's no way to come back. And so the only way she can do it is to do it by force and violence, which is all she knows. It's a sad thing what she became, and she had no choice in it and no say in it, and no one to save her. She was all alone.
I agree. I kind of felt bad for her too. And I think it was interesting, her regression, because to me, it was almost more of like a childlike she turned into, like in that moment. She went from look at my bra to like acting like a child. And this is my dream and everything. So yeah, I think it was interesting, but she definitely had her issues. That's for sure.
It's a huge element of like Arrested Development in that too. You kind of stay where you were at when this trauma started, essentially. Mm-hmm. She was talking about being bombed too when she was
like
a kid.
We talked about before, she was probably a teenager during World War II.
She even says it.
Right. And so she was seeing horrible things, living a horrible existence.
Living in a bunker.
If she had gotten away from the people that were like her grandfather earlier on, maybe she could have come back from it and gone on and been somewhat normal. But the fact that she was saddled with him until her 40s and having to take care of him, I don't want to say she was afraid of him, but she certainly didn't do anything to stop him from abusing her.
Until she ran over him.
When you say abused, do you want to dial in on that just a little? Just because I want to understand completely what you mean by that. Do you mean just like subjugate her in a way, like, or doctrinate her, or keep her in this one spot? Okay.
Right. He did get violent with her when he didn't realize it was her.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. I would be fairly sure that there was physical violence visited upon her by her grandfather at times.
Sure. Some of us are of the age where that we had some of that in our lives. He didn't
seem like the nicest person either. And I don't think that was all dementia.
Yeah. Well, and then he tells her, you have the killer instinct like me. And he's very franca potente with her.
Then he tells her she's weak.
You have these tiny obsessions.
As if to say, you're weak, now show me that you can be strong. That kind of like reverse psychology BS. Mm-hmm. It's because you've seen her.
Yeah, but that doesn't always work with everybody, you know?
I think it worked with her. Well, although it still affects her.
Does she not have remorse? Because I feel like she did when she had to kill Asha Begay. She was not happy that she had to do that.
And now we know why, by the way.
What do you mean, why?
Well, because of
Because
The
of
Winnetou
the
books.
Native
And
American.
Oh,
right.
you mean how she treated him afterwards? But still, she still killed him. I think that was one of the deaths that really got me
same. I was so mad.
because we saw it happen.
She felt like she had to, not that she wanted to.
Right.
I'm not saying she didn't take joy in killing people, because she did when she killed Upchurch. She was taunting him from outside the car. But I think in some cases, like, she does regrets that she had to do it, like with Big A.
With Big A specifically. Upchurch, I don't think she had much
No.
sympathy for maybe a couple of reasons too. FBI, and as you may have missed it, but they definitely heavily implied that Upchurch was gay. Did everybody understand that from the show?
I didn't. It didn't.
I
So
vaguely
something,
remember
that Dave and
in so long.
Sharon D talked about, yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I wanted to mention that because it's like, okay, this kind of relates to what we're talking about, because they find a pair of men's shoes in one of the cabinets, and then the message that was on the wall, "The truth dies with me." What truth are we talking about here? It's unclear. But then when you put those two pieces together, and the amount of times that Sonny Bearhart said, not that I'm judging about being gay. So there's like a little bit of confluence when it comes down to figuring out what the significance of the message on the wall was, etc. Then you go back to how Irene kills Upchurch, and it's like, I love watching you die. I love my work, because maybe she wasn't very fond of gay people. That's so sad for us.
The end of the episode is also what Irene wanted, right? That was the kind of community and family that she wanted, where they were all together at the end. And it's just sad that she was never going to achieve that.
Right. And that's what I was going to get to next, actually. You linked me right back to what I was going to say, which was, how does Irene's experience, I mean, obviously there's drastic differences, but it's the same principle. How is Irene any different from Chi in some respects? There's a clear arrested development trauma situation going on in youth. Chi was a teenager at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, he was a child. He was like a preteen, around 10, something like that. And there was a significant effort for Irene to say, please speaking in English, so like I feel like I belong. Just like when she was saying earlier to them, they don't care about you. You're disposable to them.
Right.
You all look the same to them or something like that.
Not to me. I think you're precious. And then you find out why, etc. If only Chi had been told that, you're precious to me. You're not disposable, like when they were bullying you and your mom off the res. There's a little bit of connective tissue or footprints or fingerprints in that kind of parallelism. So what is that? It's the theme of not belonging and then rejoining a collective or a sort of family, let's say, or a community. And Irene tried to make or will into existence her own community. So how about that?
She had a support system to help him. Irene's support system was a demented old Nazi in a bunker.
Going back to feeling bad for her.
She never really had a chance.
No. Let me wax a little bit on the Carl May books. So the Carl May books, generally speaking, center on the high adventure travel stories set in the American Old West and in the quote unquote Orient, the Middle East and North Africa. Despite his realistic descriptions, he may not have visited these locations when he wrote his most famous books, relying instead on maps, travelogues, and his own imagination, which, problematic. It's emblematic of Irene. Is she making this stuff as she goes? She's inventing a fiction of a fiction. Interesting. The German in the stories is Old Shatterhand, Diana. As a German immigrant and frontiersman who serves, like he's just the jack of all trades. He serves as the first person narrator. He's known for his immense strength and his quote unquote Henry rifle. She mentions this in the episode. In English, it's called Silver Rifle. Silverbush.
I was too lazy to turn the subtitles on while I was watching it. So I thought she was saying Old Cheddar Hands. Like cheese.
How funny.
I was like, what a weird name for a Native American, but now I see.
Well, no, that's the German, is Old Shatterhand. With his Silverbush, his silver rifle, which could fire 25 shots without reloading, which it's got to be completely made up. Okay.
For
an old gun, yeah.
Those books are possibly the basis of the Lone Ranger series.
The Native American in the books is Winnetou, the noble chief and mescalero Apache. He becomes Old Shatterhand's blood brother, right? We saw Irene, Cheddarhand's blood brother. So when she cut into Joe, liquid cheese came out, and that's why she was able to lick it. But you get to see that in Irene and Joe's interaction, which again, you think, okay, she comes in the dumb bra, she with her belly out, she's like, hey, check me out. And then you think, okay, it's going to be, it's creepy. It's sus. It's like if a guy came in like that, it would be, ugh. But it's even in its own way sad and a different kind of disturbing because of the blood brother ceremony sort of situation.
Again, she has no idea of how to act in that situation.
No.
She really just has no clue whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say in many respects it kind of makes her a psychopath, but really it's more socio in that. It's just like she doesn't have any social norms. She has no sense of how to interact with the world. She knows killing. Yeah. What else? I don't know. So the stories of Winnetou and Old Shatterhands center around justice, cross-cultural friendship, and a struggle between good and quotes, often represented by German characters. Yikes. Okay, that's why. And quote-unquote evil bandits, unspecified racial category. I wanted to know more about the relationship between Winnetou and Old Shatterhands. Say it right. So there are 3 Winnetou books. One is the 2 heroes meet under initial misunderstanding and conflict, which we kind of got to see in Irene's phone call with Joe, little misunderstanding. Cool. Chekhov's gun is during the phone call, Irene, as a result of Joe saying, I can help you, she goes, oh, you can help me. Well, and then in this episode, she says, I saved you two, which she kind of lived up to that little promise from that phone call, that weird phone call they had initially. After Old Shatterhand is nearly fatally wounded and taken captive by the Apache, he eventually earns their respect, leading to a deep bond and blood brotherhood with the noble chief Winnetou. Yeah. Winnetou 2, the duo works together to navigate complex conflicts involving rival tribes, outlaws, and greedy settlers, often acting as peacekeepers and mediators. Okay, well, Joe, and this is like Irene's ideal life of maybe even being a crime fighter, maybe being a good guy. We kind of spoke about that in episodes prior. And Winnetou 3, the final installment, concludes with personal sacrifice in the tragic death of Winnetou, which serves as a poignant symbol for the end of an era for Native American people. Which, you know, as made up as this series is, at least Carl May was kind of really trying to deeply connect to the current events of Native Americans in the era. Key elements of the tale's idealized heroes, both characters are portrayed as infallible, larger-than-life figures who fight for, see, Joe with the lieutenant's helmet talking to McNair. So when you see me next, say yeah to A. Okay, dude. All right, fine. Larger-than-life Joe Leaphorn, who fight for justice, honor, and compassion. So I guess there's a little bit more of an answer when you kind of describe it, the Winnetou tales like this. Okay, why does he do this with McNair? Other than being super cool and cheesy and schlocky, well, maybe this. Moral themes. The story strongly emphasize cross-cultural understanding, religious tolerance, and the struggle against greed and corruption, and the romanticized West, which he'd never gone to. May's vision of the frontier is more romantic and idealistic than traditional American Westerns, focusing on the dignity and heroism of Native American leaders. And that's it for that, Silverboosh.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But there's an additional kind of stank on this, and I was wondering if you caught the little painting that was in Joe's room, how cute it was a little bit too. Did you notice the elements that were in that painting? Because I'd spent an inordinate amount of time researching it, like getting all the angles and figuring, why is this in this painting? Why is that in that painting? It's weird.
It looked like an old Western, just somebody sitting on a porch looking out over the Western landscape, like there was a window and a plant in the corner. She's been living in a bunker and she wanted something to look at that wasn't a gray wall, something that could let her look out on the world.
Okay, yeah.
It's got to be pretty dreary to look at gray stone.
Kind of like when they have like screens they use as windows when they have no windows, you know.
Right. She's had this painting on the wall that she could go and look at and pretend that she was in her stories. And it was an escape. Again, you could feel sorry for the woman.
Well, whose room is that right now? It was in Joe's room, right?
Well, she gave him probably the best room.
In the house, yeah.
Because she's got her books there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So someday they could share that room together.
She's not even sleeping on a bed in there. She's sleeping on the floor herself.
Give her a break. She's building a life with this man. She probably wants him because, and I think there's a little bit of that element too. Like, I always have to do things for myself. Remember how she remarks on the sweat, how he built it with his own 2 hands. Men don't do that anymore. So maybe he would be the one to build a bed for the both of them to wed themselves on.
She could have bought a Navajo blanket while she was at the trading post and let him sleep on that.
Blanket. Like I did probably.
You didn't sleep? And I'm thinking, yeah, he's laying on the floor. What do you expect?
Can't sleep? Yeah, I'm being terrorized by you. Let me turn the gas on.
he'd been gassed about 4 or 5 times by then. He probably had
Right.
enough sleep.
That too, yeah.
God. I was concerned about that. Also, in addition to the whole technically 4 stages of or worlds of creation, this whole thing took place in 5 days, basically. Little parallel there with creation.
It was 5 nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's so long.
When I was thinking, okay, they're way too long in this bunker, I would have loved it if they had interjected what Bern and Chi were doing, because they're probably like, okay, where's Joe? We need to find out where he is. And I wish they had shown that part of it. I think it would have been added to what we were watching.
Broke it up better, yeah.
I wonder if they'll backtrack. Well, I don't know.
I don't think they
I
will,
don't
because
think so.
what would be the
No.
point? But
No.
it would have broken up the monotony of it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally agree.
I think it was designed to be that way. I think they were trying to psychologically go, hey, you're in this too, and you're going to suffer too. And you're going to feel
Probably.
every moment of this discomfort, awkwardness, also sympathy in some respects. Also, please get us out of here. We don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
You felt that,
Yes.
right? You were kind of
Yeah,
saying, I was laughing as
absolutely.
you were explaining that
Yeah.
in my head, obviously.
You know how tired you would get of corned beef real fast?
Let's find out, though. Yeah, kind of like it's fine. I wanted to expand a little bit on the painted landscape a little bit, because I did look at some of the elements that were in the painting, and it is a fusion of what is typically a sort of southwestern landscape. There's some pine trees, there's some meadows, there's also kind of like a aridness in the middle, but then there's the German castle in the background. It is a fusion between Joe and Irene.
Okay.
Essentially. I've tried to get a little bit more dialed into the art style to see if this was a replica of something, but of course you can't, it's going to be difficult. The painting style, characterized by rolling hills, a mountain range, and small village, shares visual characteristics with several 20th century artists. Thomas Hart Benton, the rhythmic undulating forms. There are like dancing figures in the, what is it called? There's a specific word for the red paint, but they're like dancing kind of line figures that are dancing in the meadow. Very kind of like cave painting, sort of. You can barely catch up in one of the bigger.
It reminded me of that, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. With the American regionalism, particularly seen in the works of Trail Riders. Emily Carr, the bold sculptural brushwork and focus on nature/landscapes are characteristic of her iconic Pacific Northwest paintings, such as Vanquished in 1930. Gwen Mew, the use of vivid colors and simplified, expressive mountain forms resembles her 1920s Colorado landscapes. Very cool. We're in the right time period for this romanticized version of their relationship. Marianne von Werfken, the high contrast dynamic sky and stylized landscape elements are similar to her expressionist works like The Forsaken. This is from the Colorado Springs Gazette. So visual elements, landscape. The central composition includes brown foreground hills leading to a village on the right and jagged blue-hued mountains in the background. There is a wheel crank symbol, this sort of wheelish symbol in the bottom left of the image. It's a distinct black circular symbol resembling a wheel or a crank. The specific graphic element is frequently associated with interactive items in a video game, which I told it, stop focusing on the video game, right? A little icon, whatever. The village, it's a collection of white walled buildings with dark roofs or spires nestled in the mid-ground on the right. So the castle itself resembles, okay, do you know that the castle in Disney World / Disneyland is actually modeled after an actual German castle, and it has a specific name that is not coming up.
Neuschwanstein or something like that.
Neuschwanstein Castle.
There you go. Yeah.
The Disney Castle model after Neuschwanstein Castle, located in Bavaria, Germany. Specifically, the Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella castles at Disney are inspired by this real-life castle. This is what was in the painting as well. So there's a specific German nestled in the hills.
I recommend you look up that castle and look at it because it is awesome.
Neuschwanstein, King Ludwig II of Bavaria.
It's her fantasy fairy tale that she's trying to create, so that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. There was more information, but it really got to the point. As far as the actual wheel in the bottom left goes, it looks like a Native American symbol, like the medicine wheel sort of situation.
Do you think she painted it, or do you think Grandpa painted it? Because when we first meet him, he's painting.
Oh, that's right. He's a painter. I was wondering who painted that.
That's a great point, Charity.
Yeah, great point.
See, that kind of puts a twist on the Grandpa now. Because it's like, for all the things that he felt like he had to do, maybe deep down he wanted what she wanted for herself. See, it answers your question, Sharon. You said, do you think that Opa would accept Joe as his son, and maybe this proves it.
Okay, we're going out on a limb
Sure,
here, but there's no
we
reason that he would know what that signifies to her. Like, she could just be like, "Look, paint me a castle in this
A medicine wheel in
and
the bottom left.
right? Because he wasn't all there. She's like, "Oopa, opa, paint me this."
And he knows that she loves the Winnetou books.
Not in her current state would he even know what she was doing anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
All right, I like this little twist we put on this damn thing.
she's too busy murdering people to have any artistic.
Yeah. Well, maybe some of the blood is in the paint.
Her artistic was truth
It's
dies with
putting-
me.
yeah, the
That was her
truth
painting
dies with
skills.
me, yeah.
The only thing I was thinking is it's got that Trump loyal or however you pronounce it, because it looked like a window for real. Like
It
instead
did.
of.
Yes, like a finette.
I remember a couple things from art history, not a lot, but
Right.
Well, it was very interesting. And the backdrop of even seeing that painting was all the ruckus and commotion going on in the other room, which clearly Billy was being cattle prodded. I don't know if you got that. I don't know if you're listening to the episode
Think
with
so.
headphones, but you can hear kind of like an electric shock.
I thought it was cigarette burns.
I initially thought that too,
Yeah.
given what you
Yeah.
see in the next scene. And him like just banging on the walls, helpless, unable to protect her. And she screaming. She even says, if you can hear it, she says something in the other room. She says, "Help me, Joe," or something like that. And it's
I missed that.
it's the worst. And then to the backdrop of this, you see this beautiful painting in the background.
He's beating on the painting,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is a little
Symbolic.
beating on her dream.
Clever use of the charcoal filter. Obviously, we kind of sort of touched on
Yeah.
that too. I did not know where he was going with the black flecks. And like on first watch, I was like, what is he doing? And also, what's in that bucket? Ugh.
I know.
What is that?
Water.
Oil?
Right.
She just repurposed it, didn't wash all the way out.
And because of the painting next to it, it's like, is this turpentine? Or is this where she dips her dirty brushes in? Like, I'm supposed to expect it to be drinking
Joe,
watercolor water?
That's not for drinking, Joe.
And is there lead paint in there? This food smells like dog poop. Well, see, I thought that was dumb. Like, Billy's dumb. Also, she's a kid, so why am I mad at her?
16.
Yeah, I know. Can't blame her.
Not
But-
only that, but she's a kid that's been living in an Indian school for most of her life. So
or
it's
a
not like
Catholic
she has
school,
any
right?
worldly knowledge or anything.
Also, okay, so listen, I can't fault her, but I can definitely fault Joe for breaking character, like smirking to himself and laughing to himself.
I know that was.
She's a cold-blooded
yeah.
killer. Come on, man.
Right.
Also, you're a trained actor. Keep your head on straight.
I wanted to yell at him though when he was going up the stairs and he's trying to unlock it. You're like, are you not paying attention to what's happening behind you?
Yeah.
Well, he's barely like
Why
conscious.
Did he not finish her off right then? It's not like you did not have reason to kill this woman, okay?
Or
you
tie
just
her
knocked her
up.
out. He just left her there. Like, I love Joe, but he made a whole lot of really weird and bad
Yeah.
decisions this season.
He was
Yeah.
drugged.
Yeah, the charcoal filter didn't completely work. And so that is actually quite interesting. If not for that, he might have killed her, by the way. And you can see he's clearly strangling her at the end and decides not to. This is in stark contrast to what he said. Remember, we said doing things over and making a different decision.
Yeah.
There's BJ Vines, which has haunted him for all of season 3. And we're all thinking, can he do that? Will he do that again? And throughout, we're thinking, oh, if only Irene found out that he killed a man, what would she think of him
But
then?
I feel like that's such different circumstances. Like
Sure.
when a woman is keeping you prisoner and actively trying to hurt you, it's a lot different than taking some old man and dropping him out in the woods and leaving him there. Like that is just so different.
I don't think any one of us would have blamed Joe if he had killed her, unless I'm mistaken. As sad as her story is, obviously.
I didn't think he was going to do it, but I think it would have been easier to shoot her. So if she was running at him or whatever it is, but the fact that he had to use his hands, I think that's what gave him pause.
This may have been a headphone thing. I don't know if you caught this, but as he's strangling her, she reaches up to his shoulder and
Yeah.
grabs it. And you can barely make it out. But she says, "Kill me."
Yes, I
She's
did
like,
hear
kill
it.
me, kill me.
Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
And he says this at the beginning of the episode. I'm going to kill you. You know that, right? And then here he is fulfilling his promise. And she's saying, you made a promise
I
initially.
think that's part of why he stopped though, because she said that.
Mhm. It made him realize the tragic nature of her life. I wanted to bring this up because of what you guys said earlier about transition and doing things
Mhm.
differently than you did now. Is this going to be the thing that defines him? Is killing his adversaries? Again, that's why I mentioned BJ Vines is like, well, that's still in our heads, is that he made that decision and it haunted him. No, it was season 2, but for all of season 3, that's what he was dealing with, which leaves a pretty big impression on the viewer's head. And so when it comes down to it, she's murdered a ton of people. She mentions 4 people on the res. But at the same time, recognizing this person's past is distinctly different from BJ Vines. There was a cruelty to BJ Vines' machinations, or machinations, however you want to put it. So when it came down to it, he did differently what he could have justifiably done in the moment too.
Can we just bring up her face half gone? And how she gets back up and gets her gun and tries to shoot them. I felt like at that moment, it was like Terminator. Who does that when your face is half burnt off?
Yeah. And what was she going to do? I mean, did she abandon the project? I was actually kind of curious. Like in the moment, you're not thinking of these things.
I think
but like,
so, yeah.
She's like, it's over now. And I would probably go even further. After she killed him, what would she do with herself? Being all alone right now, thinking that this dream couldn't come true. Like a murder-suicide thing? What was her plan?
I don't know. I wonder if she would have forgiven him again.
And that's why I asked the question, because I'm not sure. Well, and maybe just killing Billy would have been enough. Right? I don't need the kid.
Well, and even at the very end, she says, I knew you couldn't live without me, or something to that effect. Wow. Right? Okay. So she's still on that. She's still like, okay, they're still holding out hope. This is why you didn't kill me. You said you were going to, you didn't. So there's hope for us.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
All right, Jim Carrey, calm down. Maybe though, see, just like Sylvia Washington, it's possible that we'll see her. And well, we saw Rosemary Vines 2 seasons in a row. So there's no telling. Listen, we didn't see Space Goat. That's what we called it. It's goat with the weird antlers.
What is that?
In season 2, there was like a wild ass goat that kid was talking about. He called it an alien. And you get to see the goat in the cell. And we said we were going to make a t-shirt with the goat on it and have the word Space Goat res to res. Apparently,
that's a good one.
People voted for it and I didn't live up to it. So, but I think the condition was that the Space Goat came back to the show. So we're waiting, Dark Winds. We're waiting.
Emma and Joe. As much as I think this is how this was going to wrap up, it still frustrated me. I completely understand Emma's stance and what she's doing, but can I say it irked me? It still did, because I'm still
irked.
Because I'm Team Joe. I follow him and I see him and I feel for him, and that's who we see. So of course I'm thinking he's doing all these things. Come on, give him a break. Come back. When she said, I'm going back home, I'm going back to Los Angeles or LA, however she phrases it. And he says, do me a favor, don't say home. But before he said that, I said that in my head. I'm like, what is she talking about? That is not her home. She has to come back here to be home. And all throughout the season, I kept thinking, are you guys really going to move apart? Is that where you're going? But after reading articles from the actors and their stance on it, reading her part of it.
Deanna Allison. Okay.
Yes. Saying that this will always be her home. She has a life with Joe, very devoted, very loyal. It's just that she needs to do this for herself. And so I really didn't know where she was coming from the whole season. I had to hear it from her to understand it. Like Joe, we can see it. We can see what he wants. I wasn't sure how she was feeling about Joe. I knew what she wanted for herself, but how does Joe play into that? And so I think at that moment, her saying that home was Los Angeles and all of that. So that's why I say that. Even though I really didn't think she was going to come home yet, I, in my heart, wanted her to come home.
Which is effective. And the fact that Joe said what you were thinking, it's dialogue like that endears the audience, hopefully. Yeah. It endears me, it endeared you clearly, because it said, oh, you said what I was thinking, so now we're soulmates.
Yes.
It's what gets people hooked to the show.
Yeah.
Like a level of stickiness. They don't want to put you in a bunker, but they need you to feel what and they didn't. You're not feeling what they felt, but you're close because you don't want to be there any more than they do. So when they say lines like that, it really endears you to show. And this also goes back to Joe's bad decisions, because as much as they're frustrating, as imperfect as she is this entire season, last season, even Byrne has her quirks too. Listen, as perfect as she is, she's not that perfect. It's fine though, because we're like, yeah, she's like literally flawless. But everybody in their own way is authentic. it would be one thing for it to be schlocky in 70s and everything that Joe did was completely perfect all of the time, like some sort of 70s action hero or space hero. But he isn't. And his life kind of sucks if you think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. It's not ideal for starters. And the fact that his wife doesn't come home goes against the trope of, oh, everything worked out at the end of the season.
Yeah.
2 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. And as you were talking, we go back to Irene, though, because what did we say about Irene? Is that she, at every turn in her life, was arrested in her development. She was kept in the bunker. And then mentally, she was kept in a bunker, or physically too, but by her grandfather. It held her hostage. His condition held her hostage. She felt like she had to keep killing to make more money for, by the way, in real life dollars and cents, his monthly rent at the assisted living home was $4,206 a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she did not get her deposit back.
Don't ask, don't tell. Yeah. Listen, you got rid of him. I'm not pressing charges. Just clean break.
You know what? She deserves to lose that $1,200 for not telling them that he was a homicidal maniac before she did that.
Right. True. But it goes back to the idea that she never got to have the life that she had. And the whole season goes through the things that we could have had and then making up for lost time and doing things over that weren't done the first time. So when it gets to the end and you've seen all the different versions of that, Irene, she burn to a certain extent when she sees the squad car back in Kayenta police station, you get to Joe and Emma and you're like, I get why you need to continue on this journey, Emma. I get it. And you also kind of get why Joe needs to figure his S out, because you need to, in absentia, just completely isolated from Emma, figure out what you want to do with your life. And if it is police work, go with it. Run. And I don't know, I'm not for sure, but you get the sense at the end of the season, maybe this is a question. Do you feel like he's gung-ho, back in the saddle? And if he is, where? Is he still Lieutenant Leaphorn? I know we kind of addressed this already, but...
Now, I had a question for you.
Because Byrne could still be a lieutenant and he could just, be working with her
which
if he wants to give her the job. Yeah.
I wasn't sure when he was getting his outfit out, was he going to put it away or was he going to put it on? Like, I thought it was very unclear to me. And then he went there regardless because of what had happened. But I thought it was kind of a little muddy.
Right, because he got the phone call. I think he got the phone call in his house, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Which you might be right, Jamie. He might have been putting it away.
I honestly wasn't 100% sure.
I had gotten the idea that he had decided not to quit after he talked to Gordo, because Gordo was like, I even get bored. That's why I go back and look at all these cases.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I wasn't sure.
Right. And then he was like, so I guess we're not going fishing or whatever. So I figured he had decided right then that he was going to stay, because he was like, I'm putting my uniform back on again after I decided to quit. And then he got the call. I guess that's one of those things that's just open to anybody's interpretation.
I thought he had made that decision too, but when he was laying it out, I don't know, to me it looked like he was going to fold it up and put it away. I honestly wasn't sure.
I thought he could be putting it away. Of course, we don't know what's in his mind, so we don't know for sure. And also, that was after he met with Gordo. So then he went to go sweat with Chi. So he had that time to figure it out. And then, yes, he puts it out. And that, of course, that leaves us contemplating, yeah, you're right. What, are you going to put it on or are you going to put it away? But then he gets the phone call.
And then it's kind of a moot point. We don't get to find out. Yeah.
It is a moot point. That's true.
And we get to hear that Willie Nelson song, which I thought was very cool because I love all the music this season and every other season. But this season, it really hit. When he's taking his clothes down, that was when the Willie Nelson song started. These are difficult times.
Everything about that is, it's a difficult decision, difficult times. And then you get the phone call. It's rough stuff. Okay, that's interesting. And then the choice, just like everything in life, is sort of out of his hands. You get together with Emma and you feel like, oh, I could have been a doctor, but then Joe Jr. came around and that dream kind of sort of slipped me by. Right. And so that choice was out of her hands. But now she has the choice. She's doing over again what she could have done. Here, it's the same thing. Joe is now getting, I don't know, I don't like the way I'm phrasing this, but Joe here is getting a taste of what that's like. So, well, you might have quit, but now that choice has passed you by. Maybe. We don't know if he's, we do know. We know that he's going to look for Gordo's killer.
Yeah. He has the uniform on. He is there to do what he needs to do to find what happened to Gordo.
Yeah, and that's the choice of words were Gordo Senna was murdered last night. So that's for sure. That's a thing.
It's the Chekhov's Gordo.
Say more. There's no more episode left.
You don't introduce the Gordo murder to not examine it down the road.
Well, unless you're bad at writing, which, listen, 5 seasons in. Well, maybe this is the one where they have bad writing.
You know what's interesting, though? If I didn't know it was renewed, I think other than like that little end cap of finding out he was murdered, I think it would have worked for a series finale, especially if it was meant to be more open-ended.
I agree.
The whole season was about them making the decisions of where they're going and everything else, and some of it's kind of left up in the air. To me, it felt very season or series finale a little bit, except for the murder. Then you're like, well, yeah, they got to come back.
Right. If you take out the murder, it's fine. But I see Diana very upset right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I'd be happy. I need to see.
Happy, but it felt like one of those. I could see it ending there.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that does give you hope that is often because you're so mad, but like you kind of forget that it happened, is them kissing.
I know. I did love that part because I'm like,
it was
okay,
a very delicious kiss too.
That was a
like
good
kind of
one.
like where you feel like you're floating and then you don't want to let go, but then you let go because you got to go back. And
yeah,
it was pretty good. I'm not perving on the kiss. I'm just saying it was very uplifting. It was like, okay. And also consider that we haven't seen them kiss in forever.
Yeah.
So when they did, it's kind of like, oh, it's like a will they, won't they, except they're married actually, technically. So kind of cool, actually. I'm going to kiss my wife tonight. It's stupid.
Please,
I kissed her
please
today.
do.
There's some good shots in this episode too.
Gorgeous.
Joe gets out of the prison. It shows him on the complete right side of the screen, and Byrne and Chi are on the other side of the screen next to the squad car. It was just a great framing too. Some of the shots in the bunker, the overhead shots, which weren't all that dissimilar to season 3 when Joe was in the yellow world in his sort of hallucinatory state. The penultimate episode, by the way, because the last episode was the train, Iron Horse. You see a lot of overhead shots of the dinner table and then the broken plate and then the false walls and then the fake Kayenta police station with the kind of weird stage walls and stuff like that. Similar to that, the bunker was riddled with these too. A lot of frantic shots of him going back and forth, him on a complete other side of the screen banging on the door. Cinematically, this episode made you feel like you were in a confined space. Everything was really dark. Again, to keep heightening the effect, the yellow world, the glittering world, the blue in the prison too, the dreary blue world, but which is par for the course. Great job, team.
Yeah.
The keys in the cargo pants pocket, so when he tackles her, he knows exactly where the keys are. Little breadcrumbs that made him pay attention to how he was going to be able to get out. Everything in the episode showed you how he was very keen on what was happening, where she was putting things, what she was doing in order to figure out how to get out at the end too. Oh, okay. There is one thing I would have been pissed at if we didn't bring it up. It's day 5. I marked the days. Again, stages, worlds, creation myth. Day 5 in the bunker. Let me just read my notes directly. She unlocks the door. He walks freely to the dining table, right? No chains, no restraints.
Yeah.
And what's there? Pancakes, bacon, orange juice, toast, line the table. And what does Joe do? He chuckles and he's like, it looks beautiful. Overhead shot again of the dining table in a different circumstance as Joe sits down. And then he says the following: so many mornings started like this. I'd wake up and I smell the food. I go out to the kitchen, breakfast was on the table, little corn mush, pancakes, corn mush. It's almost the same thing. My wife and Irene look sheepishly when he mentions my wife. My son looks at Billy in this moment. Me, he chuckles slightly. Then I go off to work and he's clearing his throat. He's getting emotional. They go off to their lives. I don't know what happened. I guess I blinked. I blinked and the table was empty. Irene nods sadly. Billy looks at him with a sad look. I give my life to wake up and make an offering to Mother Earth. And now this is like where it gets a little crafty, but I think he's sincere in this moment. I give my life to wake up and make an offering to Mother Earth, to tell the story at sunrise, then sit down and eat breakfast together just one more time. That's all. Just one more time. And it's like the fulcrum of the episode. More than any of the sweats, more than any of the hunts. And I was hoping that there would be more to this moment than just him getting out of the bunker or figuring out a way out. That I genuinely hoped that this bunker experience would break him down to the point where he kind of figured out some stuff in his life. It's possible that Emma would have never come home, but that he'd have maybe that much more clarity at the end of the episode. He is less upset by her not coming home than he was when she first told him that she wasn't planning on coming home, when she says all the nice things about him, that that's just who you are. And maybe that's kind of where we're left. There's just nothing more to say. But this point in the story really kind of got to me. Similar to Chi's moment in the last episode, there's that emotional response. I gave up being Navajo. That really gut-wrenching moment. I never thought I could be that anymore, but you showed me that I could be. It's also him responding finally, or interacting with the loss of his son, more than getting revenge or making up for it or figuring out what happened to his son, dealing with that loss.
But that leads him to the decision he makes outside with Irene. So he starts there and has that moment of clarity of what he had, what he lost, what he wants. And now that he's faced with, do I kill this woman? No, I don't. I'm changing. I'm not holding on to being angry or that grief.
Right. Well, and then I think he made a decision that he would, and that she would be the offering to Mother Earth. But I think you're right. Ultimately, that changed. Because at that point, you're desperate. There's this girl here that needs to be reunited with her mother, which that was another thing. It's like, they just found each other.
I know.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget about, I did throughout this episode.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about being reunited. She just met her and now she's 5 days missing. She's like, where did she go? Oh, there's a murderer that took her and she's probably dead, is she's thinking. And oh my God, thank God she's okay, by the way, because I could see that being a reason to relapse now that I'm thinking about it.
Right.
5 days, I wouldn't have lasted 2. Ugh. Anyway, she's fine, clearly. Thank God. Some things work out in this series. Well, did you guys have any other words to say about that moment? That kind of calm, that eye of the storm, we're right in the middle of it, that hurricane of the bunker, kind of at the end of it, but like it was that moment of reprieve. We've stopped trying to figure things out. We've been broken down to our lowest point. We're helpless. There's a gambit involved in it, and it leaves Irene an opportunity to grab his hand and accept, well, yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. Shoot. Okay. If there's any chance of you manifesting your fantasy thing like I did with you, then let's go for it. Why not? And there's a little bit of mirroring in the sagebrush too when he's burning it. Byrne does this with Billy.
Oh, yeah.
At the beginning of the season. It's a ceremony meant to temper high emotions, especially after a loss. And we're sort of doing it here too. And he's tempering his own emotions. He's tempering Billy's emotions to prevent ghost sickness, by the way, is part of it. Because Irene's going to be a ghost when he's done with her. But no, that didn't end up happening.
I wonder if Irene's going to show up next season with an old scarred up twisty face in jail or something. That'd be awesome.
Like
Two-Face, yeah.
Dwight from The Walking Dead. I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
You said Dwight in my mind with the Dwight Schrute. Like,
because of all the brown and yellow in the 70s.
Maybe he goes like his baloney face.
CPR mask face. But I am more pulling for Sylvia Washington coming in.
Heck yeah.
Especially if Toby Shaw is an turncoat of some kind and there was some sort of involvement there. That's what I was hoping for. See, I was trying to...
You still might happen. It still might happen.
Could, or they could just go with a completely different story and you're never going to find out. Too.
It's as usual with some of my theories.
But I do think it's interesting that she was holding that card and we were looking at him watch that card.
I do too.
Looking at that card. So there is something. If he's not going somewhere, leaving, which I kind of don't think he is because of the conversation that he and Joe had, where he says, I don't think you're going. So it made me feel like, okay, so you're not going.
I don't think you're leaving, and I don't think you're turning in your badge.
Yeah. I thought that was giving us that answer. So the fact that he's looking at the card, maybe we're looking at it because of the name, and maybe that's leading us to your thought and theory.
I should mention, just as a side note, that address on the card, there is no 707 Willow Glen Avenue. A lot of the addresses on the show actually were for, let's say, the FBI office and the old address of the Native American Center. It's since been moved down the street in an office building, interestingly. But a lot of them did match what they were. His card. See, again, further proof that it's a shell company. It's a fake address.
Yeah,
Toby
true.
Shaw is a plant. He's CIA, maybe. Who knows?
The address stuck out to me because I grew up in an area here in California, Willow Glen, but it wasn't down south. It was north. So
right,
stuck out to me.
And it sounds like a California address, really. And you get like this really close-up view of it too. So you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll look it up. Fine, no problem.
Oh, okay.
No, it doesn't exist. Sad for me.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after these messages.
We just thought we'd remind you to show this episode some love by tapping that like button, if there's one to be tapped, subscribing to our podcast or channel, and if available, enabling all notifications, and sharing the show, or clips of it, with everyone you know. And don't be afraid to reach out. Leave your questions, feedback, ideas, or even concerns in the comments section. There isn't one? Head on over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead and leave your thoughts there. Rating our podcast is the best way to get our attention because it also boosts our visibility. And we'll probably address it in the next episode too. And if you think there's something to what we're doing here at Squawking Dead, tip us over on Ko-fi. As a token of our appreciation, you'll receive forever access to our Discord, along with 30 days access to our uncut episode and interview recordings, plus our pre-squawk insights. Take your support further. Join a membership tier on either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead, and you'll unlock access to more channels on our Discord server, receive shoutouts at the end of every episode, and depending on what tier you join, the ability to join us on camera and mic to break down future episodes alongside us. Thank you for hearing us out and making it this far into the episode.
We now return you to our regularly scheduled podcast.
That's really it, I think. I've been your host, David Cameo, and I was joined by...
Blazy Gardner.
Jason, I'm at Neo's the One on all your favorite socials. Thanks for having me again, guys. This was a great season.
Thanks
Glad
for
you were
joining
here
us.
with us.
And I'm Diana with Screens in Focus. You can find me at Screens in Focus Podcast. Thank you so much. It was so much fun being here today.
And I'm Jamie from Sci-Fi Vision. And yeah, you can find me at Sci-Fi Vision on all the social medias and on my YouTube channel and sci-fi-vision.com too.
Damn right. A lot of cool writings by Jamie Ruby. And I want to add one more thing. What have you been most excited to talk about in recent memory? One thing you've been geeking out about?
I have been watching Imperfect Women. It is on Apple TV Plus, and I am loving it. 3 women, good friends, but they have loyalty issues, affairs, lies, all kinds of stuff. So it's been really fun to watch. And I'm also watching DTF St. Louis with Jason Bateman and Dave Harbour.
How is that?
That is dark comedy, bizarre, but fun.
Okay. I love those adjectives.
I'm kind of back on the From train, I think.
Oh, no.
Oh, heck yeah.
My brain has been
Can't wait, yeah.
doing watch parties and all that. That and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I recently got into that. So we've been doing some interviews for that. That's been fun.
I loved that show when it was out.
Me too, yeah.
What has rekindled that for you? Is that you're just rewatching it again and you kind of want to bring...
I watched it when it was on. I guess now it's been about 6 months maybe ago that I watched it. And I don't know, I just fell in love with it and yeah, like really got into it.
You've been bringing on some of the cast for interviews?
Yeah, we've only had 2 people so far, but yeah.
I noticed that too. I'm like, where's this coming from? But it was a great show.
Random thing, no. Yeah, I don't know. I just fell in love with it really quickly and it just kind of kept going. Yeah.
Right now, it's The Pit.
Love that.
But coming up is Hacks on April 9th.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, and House of the Dragon.
And it's coming back. We're not ready.
I just found out today that the guy that plays Dr. Jack Abbott on The Pit, Sean Hattasey, was in Fear the Walking Dead. He was one of the soldiers in season 1 or 2.
That's right. Yep. Oh my God.
Yep.
I think he was the soldier that was tortured by Daniel Salazar.
I think so. Yeah.
In the webisodes too, by the way. I
was like,
think
whoa,
of that.
That's awesome.
Me and you just finished Paradise.
That's right. We did.
I love that show.
Who do I have to thank for that? But Diana for turning me on to that. I was like, should I? And she's like, you gotta. And I'm like, you're right.
But I have to say, I haven't seen season 2 yet, you guys.
I haven't either.
Yeah. Ooh, okay.
I mean, we're not going to talk about it now, but oh boy.
I will be, but I haven't done it yet. I have so much to catch up. I'm watching The Testaments and covering that. That's an extension of Handmaid's Tale. So.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Spiritual sequel sort of situation.
We all have The Boys and From coverage coming up.
Oh,
so we're going to be watching that.
My God.
I do not watch Boys. I'm probably one of the only people who don't. I haven't seen it. My co-hosts have seen it, but I
It's so good.
The first 2 episodes of season 5, we're going to live watch. Some of us are going to be watching it for the first time. Some of us are watching ahead to take notes, also to prevent frustrations from pausing. We're actually doing what I regret not doing with Paradise, and we're going to be rewatching episode by episode every month. Severance.
Love Severance.
I've got episode 1 done. It's ready to go. I want to do this one first. I want to release this so this is behind us, and then we're going to quickly cover the second episode very shortly. The way we're doing that is half of us have seen the series and half of us haven't. So we're recording 2 sessions in isolation and we're going to stitch them together to see our reactions. Obviously, Rachel and I, we've seen it. So we're going to have different musings on it now that we're looking back at prior seasons, like seeing how they lined up the dominoes to kind of lead up to the end of season 2. And then Sharony and Bridget are going to be watching for the first time, coming up with hopefully some insights that are kind of interesting for those who've watched it. Be like, they don't even know what's coming, or wow, they nailed that way ahead of time. So it's a little severed project of our own. We're severing the podcast to create sort of this weird, interesting effect. So hopefully it works out, and I hope people enjoy it. Other than that, as far as not podcast related stuff, I should mention Shrinking. I have been really, really enjoying it. It's one of those series that you can binge it. I don't recommend it. It's heartwarming. It's dark. It's super funny, though.
The new night shift doctor that showed up on not the last episode, but the episode before that of The Pit, he is on Shrinking.
He's on Shrinking. That's right.
Yeah.
In addition to that, I actually just finished watching the second season of Jury Duty, technically, and it's the work
how
retreat.
is that? How is the second season?
Because I watched Jury Duty. This is a series on Amazon Prime, by the way. Back when it was, I think, on Amazon Freevee. I don't know if that's still a thing anymore. So if you watch Jury Duty, part of the flaw, I don't know if it's a flaw, but it's a flaw in the ointment when it comes to that series, as great as it was the end when you were like, okay, the reveal happens. He realizes that after all this bonding and is such a nice guy, what a fella, that he realizes that all these people are liars. They're all liars. They're all actors. In case you don't know, I should mention what this is all about. In the first season, Jury Duty, one man is chosen in a pool of jurors in an actual courtroom, but technically it really isn't one because the whole thing is being filmed. Everybody in the courtroom is an actor except for this guy. So it's like a sort of reality television social experiment kind of show. Second season is called Work Retreat. It involves an entirely made up company with a temp coming in. The temp is the only person that isn't an actor. And the same sort of situation happens only on a slightly grander, or actually double the scale, because it's in a work retreat with all these cabins and open areas and seminars to attend that are entirely hilarious by actors you can sort of recognize, but it's LA, so everybody kind of looks like an actor. So same thing happens, but what they do in this season is they go the extra mile of sticking with everyone on the last episode to kind of go through the reactions and did you suspect this? Did you do that? It's so cool. And you get the same heartwarming effect, only without the whole, what happened? How is he feeling about this? Is he calling them effing liars? And you kind of get to go through that. And what they're going to do is a follow-up to see what has happened in the months after that whole project went down. And the fella from the first season and this season are going to actually end up meeting and talking about their experience too. So there's a whole behind the scenes that's going to be released after that they announced at the final episode that we just saw last night. Sorry, I waxed a whole thing about this whole thing, but I think it's worth watching. It's really, really heartwarming. It's the equivalent of watching Ted Lasso, but like it's real. So
that's right. Ted Lasso season 4 is going to be coming out soon too. Woohoo!
Boom. Well, folks, I think that's it. And we'll insert your various sign-offs here. I'm just happy to have had you guys here for this episode.
Thank you guys for sitting in. It's awesome.
Thank you
coming and talking with us
for the invite. It's been fun.
You guys made it so easy.
It's just been me and Dave for the last 5 weeks. So
because Bridget's on maternity leave.
This was exciting.
Well, let's all say goodbye to the audience.
Goodbye,
Take care,
audience.
everybody.
Bye.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Follow sci-fivision.com and all her socials. Follow screensinfocus.com and they're all Diana's socials. You could follow Jason if you want. You could follow Sharon D. You don't follow me. It's not a good idea. It's a bad look. Where I'm going, nobody can follow. Anyways, see ya. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, thank you so much for making it to the end of yet another episode of Squawking Dead. This one discussing Dark Wind's season 4 finale titled Hodisxo, which means the glittering world. I thank yet again Diana Leathers of Screens in Focus and Jamie Ruby of Sci-Fi Vision for joining us, Sharon D and Whispers member Jason. It was a lot of fun. I am so glad all of the prep to get them on and make this happen worked out. I simply adore their insights. It made for a very, very satisfying close to a very, very interesting season. As usual, we like to update the audience since it has been roughly 2 weeks since our last podcast drop. And the reason for that is because of thanks to AMC, the screeners that they provided that helped us release these episodes on time, as we alluded to in this episode and on our Ko-fi and Patreon pages. When we got together to record this episode initially, we had done it based off of screeners conversations, and that didn't quite work out. And so because of the lateness in the hour, and there was another day away until the episode dropped, we decided to wait until after the episode was released to invite both Jamie, Ruby, and Diana onto our podcast, which also allowed us to invite anybody who is following our Ko-fi or Patreon pages so that they can be in the audience, or if they are a Whisperers or Survivors member, join us on screen with their camera and mic and face like Jason did today. On top of that, I have already mentioned that our first watch reaction and post-watch breakdown of Severance is basically ready to go. Thankfully, like I said, I wanted to make sure this episode was out before dropping that so that we could faithfully change our YouTube and podcast descriptions to reflect the shows that we're covering for the second quarter of 2026. And last but not least, as far as The Boys is concerned, we did do a first watch reaction and post-watch breakdown of the first 2 episodes of season 5. At least we're not covering the first 4 episodes of season 4 like we did last year. However, in the interest of transparency, we are experiencing some technical difficulties with that recording. Since it was over 4 hours long, the length contributed to some of the technical issues that we experienced, not in the recording session, but post-processing of the recording. So hopefully we'll have that out to you very soon with a little elbow grease and a whole lot of mojo. The unedited version of that isn't even out because it contains the entirety of the episode. We have to make it available to supporters via our Riverside account so that we don't get dinged when we upload it to YouTube. You'll still be able to play it off of the site like in prior first watch reaction episodes, and you even have the option to download it, which is really cool. And now we move on to the portion of our podcast where we acknowledge our supporters. It's a little perk that they receive when they join a membership. Both Survivors and Whispers receive this. However, we only have Whispers members, so starting with the first one who was on here today, Jason, you can reach him on Instagram via @Neos1. That's @NEOS. The number 1 HEONE. Rob Lucchese, you can reach on TikTok via @RobsStuff_N as in Nancy _thangs, THANGS. And of course, Kim.Rally, the number 1 on Facebook. Thank all of you yet again for making it to the end. Of course, we understand that there's so many options of podcasts in this niche, in this genre that you could be listening to. And here you are, having chosen us, listening to me rant at the end of this episode. Couldn't thank you more than I already am. If the spirit moves you, consider tipping us on Ko-fi or joining a membership on either Ko-fi or Patreon. It really means a lot if you did. And like we've said in many episodes prior, consider just joining our Ko-fi or Patreon so that you can be aware of when we're recording, especially those Severance episodes. Be you someone who has watched the series or not and wants to follow along with us, there is going to be a recording session for you based on how you're watching. Take care. In the meantime, remember that we are Squawking Dead.